Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the MCU, specifically that iconic airport showdown between Spider-Man and Captain America. But we're doing things a little differently. We're actually going on a digital archaeology mission to reverse engineer a legendary, completely deleted Reddit post about this exact fight. Now, the original post? It's gone, wiped from the internet. But by sifting through the surviving comments, we are going to piece together the brilliant and honestly absolutely hilarious arguments that got left behind.
Okay, to really wrap your head around this debate, you have to understand the sheer, overwhelming magnitude of that deleted post. The original poster, the OP, didn't just drop a few quick thoughts. Oh no, they basically wrote a full-blown internet novel. And the community's reaction? Just gold. One surviving comment literally said that in the time it took them to read the whole thing, they could have marathon watched Civil War, Homecoming, No Way Home, Infinity War, and Endgame. And they'd still have a paragraph left to go.
I mean, this whole thread is just a masterclass in the absolute ruthlessness of internet attention spans. Faced with this completely impenetrable wall of text, a lot of users didn't even try to engage with the actual superhero power scaling. Instead, we get absolute gems like this one. I'm very happy for you, or sorry that happened. People were just in total awe of the OP's wild dedication to something that, well, as one user bluntly put it, nobody really gives a, about. So, naturally, multiple commenters were practically begging the author for a TLDR, too long, didn't read, just desperately hoping for a quick summary at the bottom. But guys, here is the absolute greatest piece of irony preserved in this entire thread. The original poster genuinely replied to one of those requests asking what is a TLDR. They were so unbelievably deep into their Captain America thesis, they didn't even speak the local internet language.
And it wasn't just the massive word count that broke people. The surviving comments reveal total structural chaos. Apparently, to follow the argument, readers had to constantly scroll way up to find a specific reference image, then scroll all the way back down, try to find their place in the text, and just repeat that tedious loop over and over. It was totally exhausting. And honestly, it completely overshadowed the actual superhero fight. But for those brave few who did power through the maze, a seriously compelling tale of the Cape actually emerged.
Right, so stripping away all the meta jokes for a second, the comments actually reveal a really fascinating deep dive into their power levels. In one corner, you've got Peter Parker. He possesses immense raw strength, sure, but he's held back by his youth and this tendency to pull his punches. Then, in the other corner, there's Steve Rogers, boasting some truly incredible MCU-specific enhancements and gritty, real-world warfare experience. The community was heavily divided on what happens when these specific traits collide.
So the big question, exactly how strong is Spider-Man? Well, one commenter broke down the lore math for us. In the mainline comic books, an adult Spider-Man can lift roughly 25 tons. Think about that. And they pointed out how Tobey Maguire's older Spidey easily caught Tom Holland's absolute haymaker in No Way Home. Because the MCU Peter is still a younger teen, commenters estimated his current strength is probably sitting slightly lower, somewhere in that 15 to 20-ton range, still incredibly strong and steadily growing.
But look, movie stats definitely matter more than comic stats here. And the MCU version of Captain America is way stronger than his comic book counterpart. To defend Cap, the thread started listing off his cinematic resume, and it's wild. We're talking throwing full-size motorcycles, holding back a taking-off helicopter with one arm, skydiving without a parachute, and oh yeah, famously holding back Thanos. When you put it like that, suddenly, taking on a teenager who can lift 15 tons doesn't actually seem quite so impossible. But here's the thing, raw strength isn't everything. One commenter actually brought real-world physics into the chat, highlighting one absolutely crucial number. 150. As in 150 pounds, because no matter how many literal tons Peter Parker's muscles can lift, his actual body mass is still super light. The OP apparently tried to argue that the writers just used fake physics to let Cap win, but the commenters entirely shut that down. They pointed out that Peter's light weight was Cap's exact tactical target.
Since Peter only weighs about 150 pounds, Steve didn't actually need to outmuscle him at all. He just needed to outleverage him. One user summed it up perfectly. Cap just spins in a circle, uses the very webbing Peter is holding onto to generate centrifugal force, and literally pulls Spider-Man right off his feet. Ta-da! It's all about momentum, not bench pressing. It's kind of the exact same logic that lets Batman judo flip Superman, right? Use their weight against them.
Which brings us to what the community basically universally agreed was the true deciding factor here, war IQ.
See, Cap can strategically outsmart vastly superior opponents because he is a seasoned combat veteran with an enhanced, above-genius tactical intellect. I mean, there's a reason he leads the Avengers. And when it comes to the specific realm of war IQ, the thread rightly pointed out that Civil War-era Spidey had absolutely zero. Just look at the massive experience gap. That whole airport sequence was literally Peter's very first time taking hits from super strong enemies. He was a total rookie stepping onto a chaotic battlefield filled with literal gods and androids. And up against him, a battle-hardened veteran who spends his everyday life fighting aliens and killer robots. The community agreed pretty quickly that if an all-out Captain America actually wanted to seriously hurt a rookie Spider-Man, it would have gotten incredibly ugly incredibly fast.
However, a major consensus did emerge from the ashes of this giant thread. Both heroes were definitely actively holding back. Spider-Man was pulling his punches because honestly he doesn't fully know his own strength yet, and he obviously didn't want to fatally injure anyone. On the flip side, Cap was holding back because he knew full well he was fighting a kid from Queens. Steve Rogers just needed to neutralize the immediate threat and get out of there, not completely crush a teenager. Okay, so that leaves us with this huge question. If the thread generally agrees that Spidey is physically stronger and they were both holding back, why did Cap actually win the movie fight? How did he manage to walk away while Peter ended up crushed under a giant piece of an airport terminal? Well, this question shifts our explainer away from all that in-universe lore and physics and takes us straight into the behind-the-scenes reality of how comic book media is actually built.
One user chimed in with a deeply cynical, but honestly incredibly accurate take. They wrote, Cap 1 cause comic book and movie writers always like experience greater than everything. It doesn't matter if a character can lift mountains, he will lose to a normal human if that human is more experienced. And they kind of hit the nail on the head. In a writer's room, having a wily, strategic veteran outsmart a much stronger rookie is simply a way more satisfying story beat for the audience. And that brings us to the absolute ultimate trump card. To finally settle the debate once and for all, a commenter invoked the legendary creator himself, Stan Lee. Now, Stan Lee famously hated these deep dive power scaling debates. His golden rule was delightfully simple. The person who'd win in a fight is the person the scriptwriter wants to win. Boom. End of story. If the writers needed Cap to beat Spidey to serve the overall Civil War narrative, well, he was going to win, completely regardless of Reddit's intense physics calculations.
So as we wrap up this explainer, we're really left with a fascinating thing to think about. This lost thread was this incredible collision of intense, dedicated fandom passion and blunt Hollywood screenwriting reality. So what do you think? Does calculating the real-world physics of a 150-pound teenager against centripetal force actually matter to the story? Or is combat experience just a magical, convenient shield that scriptwriters use to make sure their favorite character always comes out on top? It's a brilliant debate that completely outlived its original post, and honestly will probably outlive us all.